Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about PlayStation 3 emulation with RPCS3, and RPCS3 just got a brand new update here. They're on to version 0.0.34. They say here since version 0.0.33, they've had 197 new commits. 293 source code files have been edited, 12,074 lines of code were added, 17 code contributors, and 62 days of development. So the last version of RPCS3 was released back at the end of August. It's been a couple of months here, and version 0.34 has a whole bunch of changes, fixes, improvements, and even more. If you wanted to check out the entire changelog, like everything I talk about, link will be in the description below right at the bottom. There is quite a bit in here. Now, we've talked about some of these improvements in previous videos, but at a high level here, there's a couple of things to note. Number one, if you're on macOS 12, you cannot get the latest version of RPCS3. RPCS3 no longer supports macOS 12. And number two here, there's a brand new frame limiter, and if you've got a monitor with a high refresh rate, you can take advantage of that. It's in your GPU settings under frame limit. Now, looking at some of the comments over on Twitter, and I'm kind of surprised with a few of them here. For example, this one has a large amount of likes in comparison with some of the others. And this person asks, please add a Steam port and retro achievement support. But there is a reply to that one, and in my opinion, it kind of makes sense. Why would you want retro achievements on a console that has trophies? And there are trophies in RPCS3. I don't know, unless I'm missing something. It's a very weird request. I might be wrong though. Let me know your thoughts about that one in the comments below. But moving on from that and still talking about new versions. Next up, we're talking about Wii U emulation with CEMU, and CEMU just got a brand new update to version 2.3. So with this update, we've got some fixes and some changes and things to pay attention to. For example, for the Vulkan renderer, they've got changes on how frame display is handled to reduce input latency. And for Amiibo, they fixed an issue where Amiibo were not detected in Mario Kart 8, and that should now be working. And it is worth pointing out that the Android version of CEMU is still not officially supported by CEMU. It's a separate project altogether right now, and you won't find any of those updates on their official GitHub or on their website right now. Maybe later on in the future, but at this point in time, the Android version of CEMU is not official. Next up, we're talking about Former Dawn. Now, Former Dawn is a game over on Kickstarter. It's for the NES and PC, and it looks way too good to be on the NES. I mean, take a look at that. Anyways, here it's almost done its campaign. There's 12 days left to go, and they're close to their goal but haven't met it just yet. To be honest with you, I'm kind of surprised this game hasn't met its Kickstarter goal because it does look really good, and I'd assume fans of the NES would be backing this game already. I mean, this doesn't look like it belongs on the NES at all. In my opinion, this looks like it should be on the SNES. But again, I could be wrong. Everything just looks so fluid and so detailed and so smooth. It looks really good. Now, taking a quick peek over at the tiers, and it seems for $30, people get a Steam key and a ROM file for the NES version. So that is impressive. I'm very impressive that this is going to work on the NES, at least hopefully. Leafing through their entire Kickstarter because the graphics seem unbelievable at this point. It seems the whole secret behind them is a customized memory mapper they developed. They say their MXM1 memory mapper allows them to create vivid, large-scale animated bosses. If you wanted to see this memory mapper in action to see if it actually works, you absolutely can, but there are some caveats. So they say here for the first time they've released an MXM1 demo for Former Dawn. Required an NTSC, NES, Famicom, Tiny NES, a CRT, and an N8 Pro. Expansion audio required to hear the music. Looking at the comments on that post over on X, it's weird, I keep trying to call it Twitter. Anyways here, someone asked the obvious question. Please tell me you talked to Sour in advance and this can be played on Mezen too. And they replied and said the mapper is still under development and we can't be caught dead engaging in emulator development because of the legal agreement with a certain company whose name begins with Nintendo and ends with Intendo. And someone asks, why do you have a legal agreement with Nintendo? And they say, we intend to port Former Dawn to the Nintendo Switch. Now, to be honest with you, this to me is a little bit fishy. I mean, on one hand, yes, I can understand if they've got an agreement with Nintendo, Nintendo would not want them helping out with emulation in any way, shape, or form. But at the same time here, why do they have an agreement with Nintendo when they haven't even developed the game yet? And what is going on behind the scenes here? I'm a little bit curious and a little bit skeptical just because the game looks too good to be on the NES. Furthermore, people are asking, what about the MiSTer and Analog Core? Are they compatible? Because those are close to actual hardware, and Something Nerdy says not at this time. The painful thing about emulation, hardware, and software varieties of the NES is that every single mapper has to be supported, one at a time. MXM1 is just the newest kid on the block. So here are my overall thoughts on former Dawn. Number 1, the game looks very interesting. The graphics look great and it does look like a fun game. Number 2, the MXM1 memory mapper. If this is the real deal, if it's actually legitimate, this would be massive for the NES scene. I'm thinking NES homebrew, NES emulation, and even more. I think this would be a very good thing for the scene. Number 3 here, I'm willing to wait for this game to hit Steam because I have my doubts about whether or not it's going to run on an actual NES. I could be wrong here, and maybe I am. I hope I am. But at the same time, I'm just going to be patient on this one and just bank on this releasing on Steam and maybe on the Switch at some point in time. But let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. What do you think about former Dawn? What do you think about the potential of the MXM1 memory mapper if it is the real deal, if it exists, if it works, and they're able to accomplish it? And what do you think about this game via emulation or Steam? And on a side note here, if you wanted to see the game in action, you absolutely can. Some people already have YouTube videos on it, and I'll link one in the description below. Like everything I talk about, link will be in the description below right at the bottom. Anyways, here I'm very hopeful for this one. I am hoping it's going to be successful. I mean, it just seems way too good to be true. It seems way too good to be on the NES, but at the same time here, it looks awesome. And speaking about stuff on Steam, next up here, we're talking about Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. Now, if you've got this game and you're trying to play it on Linux and you can't, there is a workaround here that's supported by the developer to get the game up and running. So someone posted this. Is anyone able to play this? I just got the message telling me I'm offline and need to connect to the internet. No PSN pop-up or anything to log into, so I need to wait or what? So the developer says, if you are experiencing issues with the login flow on Linux, please use the following workaround. On Steam, right-click on the game in your library, choose Properties, go to General, and add Show Linking QR in the field for launch options, and that should hopefully fix the problem. And on a side note here, someone says, I started the game first on my Ally, then declined the PSN thing, and then when I started the game on my deck, the game starts without problem. That's a very interesting solution. Next up, we're talking about the I don't want to say controversial, the highly talked about Snapdragon 8 Elite mobile chip. Now, this is the chip that's supposed to be a performance beast, and also the chip that ARM is trying to get Qualcomm to stop distributing. So we'll see how many of these make it out there to the public, but at the same time here, there is a potential problem. The Snapdragon 8 Elite is being reported as heating up quite a bit during intense GPU use. I do recommend checking out that article and reading it because they have some links as well to some other articles that have done some stress testing. And the reason I'm saying it might be a problem is because of emulation and things that are really pushing that GPU. For general gaming on the Android device, it seems that using the Snapdragon 8 Elite will be absolutely fine. But I'm just wondering here, for example, if someone is using something like Illuminated and really pushing the heck out of that chip, will heating become a problem and thermal throttling then becoming a bigger problem and performance being affected? Or will it be absolutely fine? I guess we'll have to wait and see. And on a side note here, just for some reference, it appears the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip struggled during some benchmark tests, but was fine with Genshin Impact. So who knows here, because I think Illuminated is a little bit more demanding, but at the same time, well, let me know your thoughts. But moving on, and next up we're talking about Pokemon. Kind of. Well, it is a Pokemon game, it's just been heavily modified. Now, previously, there was a game called Pokemon Luminescent Platinum, and if you're familiar with that game, you might be excited to know there's another game coming down the line. So Team Luminescent is working on a new one called Illuminated Platinum, and they say coming to you soon. Unfortunately, I don't have a release date for you just yet or specific details about the game, but if you are curious about it, feel free to check out the YouTube trailer, and if you're curious about their former game, Luminescent Platinum, which is a Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl ROM hack, feel free to check out their website. And speaking about trailers, next up we're talking about an upcoming game you may not have heard of, but you may be interested in. It's called Showa American Story, and there's a brand new trailer for this game over on YouTube. It's an action RPG, it's post-apocalyptic, and it looks really interesting. Take a look at the trailer, let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. It's definitely on my radar of games to watch out for and probably pick up once it releases. I mean, overall, the graphics look really good. The gameplay looks super weird, but also interesting. I think Virgil here says it best. This is what you get if you take Fallout, Dead Rising, internet memes, God Hand, and Yakuza and mix them all into one open world game. Additionally, looking at some of the comments right on the video, and well, here are some of the popular ones. A game that took place in America, filled to the brim with Japanese memes made by Chinese devs. Be the American the Chinese imagine that Japanese thinks you are. So the comments on this one are super weird. The game itself looks super weird, but I mean, at the same time here, it does look really interesting. Again, let me know your thoughts about this one. Next up, we're talking about Xenogears. And if you didn't know if Xenogears had a modding community or not, well, they do, and it seems to be alive and well. There's a brand new patcher available, and they're calling it Xenogears Perfect Works Build. So this is a patch, it's a ROM hack for the game, and they say here, Xenogears Perfect Works is a collaborative project aiming to make Xenogears a more complete experience. Again, if you're interested in this one, links are in the description below. If I'm not mistaken, this ROM hack was originally released back in 2022 and it's still being worked on. The latest version here has a whole bunch of fixes and tweaks and improvements. Next up, we're talking about Oasis, and Etched is calling it the first playable AI-generated game. They say they partnered with Descartes AI to build a real-time interactive world model that runs 10 times faster on Sohu. They're open sourcing the model architecture, weights, and research. Now, if you think that trailer kind of looked like Minecraft, you wouldn't be alone. This person says, the prompt, build a game that's exactly Minecraft, using everything that Minecraft does exactly. Basically, just steal the whole damn thing. Oh, but make the UI a little bit different. AI downloads Minecraft. And this person says, for anyone who hasn't tried the demo, it doesn't work nearly as well as the video. If you turn around and then look back, something totally different will be there. There's no memory. I guess the question is, to what extent is this a fundamental limitation? If you are curious about this one, you can try it out, but it doesn't work in Firefox. You will need desktop Chrome. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below if you've tried it. And speaking about AI, last up here, we're talking about AI and possibly AI stealing even more jobs. So a lot of people are concerned about the future of AI, what it entails, what it's going to sacrifice in terms of people's jobs, and well, even more. And it's being reported now that over 25% of Google's code is written by AI. And that's just the start. Now, I could be wrong here, but the overall messaging seems to be that AI is being utilized to enhance human capabilities. And I would say, yeah, that is kind of true. But on the other hand, there's the capitalist view, I think, where you can do more with less. I mean, if you think about it, if you can get more out of people and have less of them, for example, if you've got AI to help everyone be more productive, well, you can get more work done with way less people. And ideally, the less people you have to pay is better. I could be wrong about this. I could be completely off base, but this is very concerning to me. But before I go on a tangent, let's just end the video here on a positive note. Anyways, we talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state.